Hey guys, Gamel here with my good friend Mellow Yellow, and I'm here to read you a story called Rainbow Dash's Shipping Goggles. It's a story based upon Rainbow Dash gets these, well, not these, but I'm guessing they're goggles because it's in the story, but in the description it says it's an artifact that Rainbow Dash gets, and she uses it to, like, change the fate of ponies and everything like that. So I thought it would just be a funny story to read and talk about as I read it. I haven't done a reading with somebody in a long while. If you guys want to join me and do something cool, let me know right away. You're right. Anyway, let's get this story read. Wait. Got some gas trapped in my chest. And there was not a cut anywhere in this video. Anyway, she lifted the package up to her eyes, peering at the illegible scribbles on the brown wrappings. To my dear Rainbow Dash, from Grandpa Prism. Rainbow Dash read to herself, scanning the messy hoof writing as her eyes widened with each word. She hadn't heard the name since she was a filly. Her hooves moved to tear the package open while her mind transfers fuzzy memories of her grandpa. Gramps. Haven't seen you in a while. She juggled the cardboard box with her ear planted on it, listening to the shifting contents. Fond memories of sitting by the weathered unicorn and listening to his tales whenever she visited the town flashed through her mind. Grandpa Prism was a peculiar unicorn. The only one in her immediate family. Rainbow Dash reminisced about his odd magic and potions he brewed with a handful smile. Now, I could take this in stride because, I mean, Mr. and Mrs. Cake, Pegasus and Unicorn. Go figure. Embracing memories of when she irrationally suffered in his warm presence, as many a filly does, flitted through and caused her to cringe. To the bashful filly, he was the only uncool pony in the family. He took this in jest and merely showed her the new toys he had crafted. Rainbow Dash's grim smile faded with each memory of her immaturity flittering through her consciousness. You're still immature today. A small smile touched upon the corner of her lips as she finally tore the tape off of the box with her teeth. She spat it out, allowing it to pass through the clouds she was laying on, and gingerly opened the box as it now allowed its contents to fall. Rainbow Dash! A voice called from the distance. Rainbow jolted. I can't English. I haven't been able to English in like 2 days so far. Rainbow jolted and turned away from her precious box, only to spot a familiar pony in the horizon, galloping towards the orchard, through the orchard. She peeked over her cloud and noticed her litter had stuck to some of the trees below. Applejack seemed cheerful now, but Rainbow Dash was in for a lecture if she got caught red-hoofed. Cutting her losses, Rainbow Dash flicked off her cloud into flight and dashed off. Because, you know, Rainbow Dash. Clutching the box shut against her chest, she glided above Ponyville and searched for a place to open it in peace. Someplace quiet. Someplace no pony would ever think to find her. Someplace no pony would ever set foot in. Someplace like the library! Rainbow Dash pounded her fists. Rainbow Dash pounded her front hooves together, slightly congratulating herself on her awesome intellect. Then realized she had basically called herself an egghead. She then began thinking about the Wonderbolts to balance out her coolness levels. Hey, I bet Twilight would like this. She descended on the town's rooftops, her eyes scanning the horizon for the library. Wait, is this... No, this is before... Tarek. How would you miss the library, though? It's a giant tree! The summer sunshine warmed her feathers, even as she flapped her wings. She found it to be the shame the weather team would have to end it so soon. But they were already running the risk of a drought, and the mayor wouldn't hear one word of it if the crops were put at risk. She continued to soar at a leisurely speed and approached the library in a matter of minutes. Calculating her landing, she flipped over to land on her hind legs and descended slowly. Ash did not crash on Twilight's balcony. Again. Rainbow Dash hovered above the ground as she snuck inside, in case Twilight was absorbed in her studying. She scanned the immediate area, but found no dragon or pony in the bedroom. She trotted downstairs on the bottom step, known for its creak. She slightly pushed down on it and leaped off the stairs onto 3 hooves and looked into the room. Oh, Twilight, reading a book just like always. What an egghead. Rainbow Dash stepped away from the stairs and toward Twilight before waving. Twilight! She's going to love this. Twilight's eyes twitched, but she calmly shut the book and turned towards the intrusive friend. Oh, hey, Rainbow Dash. Twilight's tail switched as she walked past the table, brushing the abandoned book. What are you doing here? Rainbow Dash lifted the cardboard box up and grinned. I got a present for my Gramps, and I kinda sorta figured you might want to look at it. It's probably some cool magic junk. This caught Twilight's attention. She pushed the book away and stood up, her ears straightening and her eyes sparkling in the library's lighting. Is your grandpa a unicorn? That's right, Rainbow Dash puffed out her chest in a dashing bravado. My Grandpa Prism, the most talented, powerful, and, awesome unicorn there is. He's a little weird, but awesome. Rainbow Dash blushed and turned her head to hide it. Maybe he is awesome, just not my kind of awesome. She turned back to Twilight. And, yeah, cool magic junk. Want to see? Curiosity got the better of Twilight, and she trotted over, lowering her head as Rainbow Dash set the box on the ground. Not knowing what enchantments lay inside, she gently lifted the 4 crowbar flaps and peered inside the box. Well, that's interesting, I suppose, Twilight said with a hint of disappointment. She lifted a foreleg to turn back to the table. Before Twilight could return to her reading, she was interrupted by Rainbow Dash's wings flaring off her sides. Cool! Rainbow Dash exclaimed as she lifted an object from the box and examined it. Just what I wanted! Twilight couldn't help but stare at it as well, forgetting to blink in dull surprise. Goggles! It's a pair of goggles. Exactly what I expect from a unicorn gifted in the arts of magic. Twilight deadpanned. Rainbow Dash rolled her eyes. Yeah, but it's me we're talking about. Gramps knew me like nobody else. What about anyway, let's get a closer look at this baby. Rainbow Dash narrowed her eyes slits as she peered at the narrowed her eyes into slits. I'm thinking about like snake slits. She peered at the pair of goggles, caressing the bronze frames as it glittered in the light. Grandpa Prism, utilizing runology in his magic, had engraved fine feather patterns along the frames. The scarlet tint of the frames was impractical, especially for a racing model, but Rainbow Dash, and admittedly Twilight, found the color complementary to its new owner. As Rainbow Dash tugged on the pleather scraps to slip on the goggles on, Twilight rubbed her chin with a hoof and asked, So, what's your grandpa like? What kind of magic does he do? Rainbow Dash finished tugging the goggle scraps over her head before answering. Well, he casts magic on stuff and makes them do cool things, I guess. Twilight eyes widened as she translated Rainbow Dash's vogue explanation. Enchantments? Her voice raised an octave. Yeah, whatever. Rainbow Dash waved her off as she slipped the scraps over her ear. He makes potions like Sakura on occasion, but he's really good at it. Ugh, feelings. A gagging sensation rose in her throat as she thought of the time when she accidentally sipped one of Grandpa's potions as a filly and started clinging to Fluttershy for the next few days. No pony would let it down for weeks, especially after the net fiasco. What? I want to hear that story. I want to read that story. Oh, what kind of feelings? Twilight asked. A shudder ran down Rainbow's spine as Twilight's eyes began to sparkle. Empathy, magic, and conflicts, especially involving love. Rainbow Dash spat, heat rising in her cheeks. Love, okay? And all the mushy-gushy stuff Rarity likes. Gramps did some other stuff too, but he always talked about being a charmer. Twilight couldn't help but giggle at the pun. She tried concealing her smile with a hoof. Rainbow Dash's ears flopped to her side, and she settled with a mere roll of her eyes. And whatever. Anyway, he was a little weird. Not Discord weird, but pretty weird. Twilight sat on her haunches and cocked her head thoughtfully to the side, rubbing her chin. Huh. I remember Cadence has magic like that, but I've never heard of a normal unicorn able to use a... What? Is this a real word? Amoromancy. 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 Love magic. We're just gonna call it that. Whenever that word comes up, we're just gonna call it love magic. What's that? Not even kidding me. Not even kidding. That's what it says. What's that? Rainbow Dash almost had the tight goggles on, but one of her eye frames caught on her eyebrow and made it difficult to maneuver with her hooves. A task that drowned out Twilight's musing. Twilight opened her mouth to repeat herself. A loud knock echoed through the library, interrupting. Twilight as a hoof beat down on the library door. Rainbow Dash froze in place. Great, Applejack found me. Twilight! Twilight! Can you open up? I know you're studying in there. The door is locked again. Applejack barked through the wooden door. It was Twilight's turn to blush as she moved to unlock the door. The farm pony gave her thanks and then brushed her way past Twilight. Wait. Why did Twilight... Not even gonna worry about it. Rainbow Dash gulped as Applejack's eyes laid upon her. The green irises briefly flashed with irritation as Applejack sighed and adjusted her Stinson. Don't worry, Sugar Cube. I ain't mad. Just mind where you litter next time, alright? She tipped her hat to Rainbow Dash before turning to Twilight. And I was wondering about that book, she asked, blushing and shifted her eyes from left to right. Okay, well, there's something wrong with the book. That much I can tell right now. Are we talking about, like, playing it or play selling? Like, Rainbow Dash chuckled sheepishly before returning her intention. What? What? Rainbow Dash chuckled sheepishly before returning her attention to the goggles. Alright, whatever. Free again to struggle with the tight strap, she pulled and pulled on the constricting bands. She made a mental note to ask Rarity for some proper pleather. Oh, of course, Applejack. I never knew you were into botany. Twilight gave her a knowing wink as her horn glowed to sift through the bookshelf. Botany? Botany? Is that a real thing? I don't think that's a real... It's like... It has the two... I don't think... Hey guys, we're about to go look up if botany is a real thing. I highly doubt it is. It's a real thing! It's the plant science of... or plant biology. It's the science of plant life and a branch of biology. Botanist is a scientist who specializes in this field of study. So, botany is just a fancy word for saying a type of biologist. Alright? Why? Why is that just like botany? Is that supposed to have, like, some underlined meaning? Whatever. Sure thing, Sugar Cube. You have branched out what taking care of trees. Applejack's voice caused a small twitch in Rainbow Dash's ear, making it more difficult to slip the scrap past it. Turning her head at an odd angle, Rainbow Dash heard Twilight say, "That's great, Applejack. Fluttershy checked out the same book last week. Once you're finished, maybe you should try gardening, too." Well, I guess if I kept reading, I would have figured out what the book she was talking about. Rainbow Dash stifled a gag as she caught an ear past a pleather band. She found gardening to be a Billy's hobby, not nearly as cool and interesting as racing or her usual tricks. Finally, the goggles gave a loud and satisfying snap, snug and secure on her face. With a small adjustment on the frames for comfort, Rainbow Dash opened her eyes. "That's weird," Rainbow Dash said as she looked throughout the library. Despite the rose tint, her vision was clear. Maybe it was her grandpa's spell making the glass another color. The books, the woods, and even her friends were the same color. Nothing was off. Twilight nervously tapped her hoof on the ground. I'm sure she wouldn't mind teaching you. Rainbow Dash further tuned out the conversation, and she noticed something shimmering in the air, just above Twilight's head. Getting up on all fours, she crept forward and peered up from a distance. A strange red glass hovered above Applejack and Twilight, their botanic conversation continued. Nonplussed, Rainbow Dash squinted her eyes. Are those ribbons? Rainbow Dash brought her head back as the image began to clear. A small volt of scarlet energy crackled over a lens as the gassy picture focused. Hovering above the conversing mares were two fluttering ribbons. These big words! I don't know what this word is. Diaphonous? What? Not every story needs, like, words that nobody understands or nobody knows unless you look at it. I mean, sure, if I was older, I would probably know. No, in fact, even if I was older, I probably still wouldn't even know what this word is. I would probably look at it and just be like, I better go look this word up. Diaphonous scarlet ribbons like the ones Rady used on some of her dresses. The frilly ones in particular. They danced in the air as an unfailing wind was blowing through the great hollow tree. Their ends were frayed and tattered, dancing alongside each other, but never touching. Oh, I get it now. So, no, just in case some of you guys don't get it, dancing along each other, but never touching. Tracing one with her eyes, Rainbow Dash found it twisted around Twilight's neck, her barrel and eventually submerged into her chest. Examining the other one only proved for the same for Applejack. Perplexed, Rainbow Dash scratched her mane. I imagined her scratching her chin, but then I realized I was wrong. The ribbons weren't there before, so it had to be because of the goggles. The magic goggles. Cool, she muttered, giving them a light tap out of habit. Rainbow Dash stepped further to investigate while her friends were busy. As soon as she came within 3 paces of her friends, the ribbons came to life and reacted. Before her eyes, they whipped back and forth wildly, the non-existent wind becoming a storm as the ribbons riled up. A strange feeling of uncertainty crept through her spine as the two mares in the room continued their conversation, oblivious to the events taking place. The ribbons shot toward her. Rainbow Dash instinctively spread her wings and leaped into the air. Her reflexes were now a second too slow, allowing the ribbons to grab a hold of her forelegs. Rainbow Dash pulled back in the air, her fetlocks being squeezed by the strange ropes. Grunting and gasping, she fluttered backwards with all her wing power, pulling on her leg as the ribbon slithered against her coat. "What's wrong, Rainbow Dash?" A voice cut through her thoughts. Opening her eyes, stressful tears forming in her ducts, her vision revealed a concerned Twilight and Applejack standing underneath. A little help, guys?" Rainbow Dash gave one last tug and managed to release her hooves. Before the ribbons could latch themselves on her once more, she batted them away and began flying evasive maneuvers. Applejack shook her head. "I have no idea what's going on in that strange head of yours. You alright?" Twilight repeated herself. "Are you okay? Your flight pattern was odd." Watching a Pegasus flailing around in the air for no apparent reason was a sight to behold, even to a unicorn used to such magical anomalies. "Why are you flying like that?" Rainbow Dash began flying in circles and loops around the library, looking over her shoulder as she began to pick up speed ahead of the two deadly ribbons in hot pursuit. It'd be nice if you stopped chasing me right about now." The one ribbon wrapped around her wing joint, forcing her to a dead stop. Rainbow Dash screeched as pain shot through her wing, reactively bucking to ignore her friend's loud concerns. "That's it!" She turned her head and bit into the relentless ribbon while snatching it, approaching partner in crime with her hooves. Her teeth gnawed into a foam gathering her jaw, eventually tearing the ethereal fabric and allowing her to grab it with her hooves. With impish anger and crazed smile on her lips, she moved her hooves about in deliberate motions and tied the ribbons together. "That's bad." Once satisfied, she backed off and admired the two ribbons struggling back and forth against one another in their twisted knot, until a flash of crimson light appeared, momentarily blinding Rainbow Dash. She raised her forelegs to shield her eyes, but the light only lasted a brief moment. Rainbow Dash blinked and rubbed the goggles, astonished at the sight. The two ribbons, previously bound together, were now one in connecting her ground friends below. Her eyes slowly traced the silky scarlet ribbon down to the chest of her friends. Friends who had previously been engrossed in conversation. Friends who had been shouting cries of concern during her magical struggle. Friends who were now making out. Friends who were making out? Rainbow Dash hovered above her forelegs, dangling at her sides and her jaw hanging low from the sight. Twilight was the first to pull away, leaving a trail of saliva from her tongue and nibbling Applejack's bottom lip on the way. I should probably put up a warning right here that says, "Hey guys, story's about to get a little bit heated." This is rated T for teen, so I'm pretty sure we'll get that heated. That was amazing, she whispered as she placed her forehead against her partner, her horn touching the brim of the Stinson hat, and electing an approving purr from the cowboy. I can't read this. Friendship really is magic. Oh god, I can't take this story seriously. Applejack sighed and moved her head to the side, brushing her cheek against Twilight's. Sugar Cube, I don't think it's friendship we got here. I think. Applejack moved her head back, creating eye contact with glimmering emerald eyes. This is darn tootin' true love. Gosh darn it. Now, give Mama a wet one, you hooter. I can't take this story seriously. Oh. With that said, she abruptly leaned forward, interrupting Twilight's response, and forced her plump lips onto his lavender. Oh my god. The things I get to say to please you guys. Twilight moaned and turned her head over ever so slightly, allowing Applejack's tongue entrance into her warm cheek. Okay, so there's gonna be a sentence a few pages back. If you haven't stopped listening now, it's never too late to turn back. Oh, dear Celestia. No, I don't want to. Applejack says something. Applejack wrapped a hoof around Twilight's neck, bringing her closer still. Their chests rubbed against each other, making small pink sparks from their threads. After several heartbeats, seemingly forever, as if Kronos himself had stopped time to watch the two impromptu lovers, Applejack finally pulled back, panting and sweating from their loving embrace. She leaned forward and set her chin on Twilight's shoulders. The librarian followed suit and rested on the toned shoulder of the object of her desire, sweating as her cheeks blushed. Oh my gosh, Applejack! Twilight said in between breaths, her heart fluttering like a butterfly in a hurricane. That butterfly would be dead. I think I love you! Hey, Twilight, back off my waifu. The words echoed through the hollow tree, leaving the atmosphere completely silent. Not even Rainbow Dash flapped her wings in observing the event in a stupefied daze. Could manage to utter single word and break the silence. Only Applejack's careful movement cut through the tension. She brought her hoof up and caressed Twilight's cheek, bringing it to her ear and caressing it as well. Oh, Sugar Cube, I feel like I've been waiting my entire life for you to say that. Why, I want you to come with me to the farm. Come to Apple Farms as an apple. She slid her hoof back, resting it on Twilight's cheek as a scarlet blush grew brighter and brighter against her dark coat. Twilight placed her hoof on top of Applejack's, accepting the show of affection. She lightly nuzzled against it and replied, Oh, Applejack, aren't I already an honorary apple? No! Applejack shifted her hooves to Twilight's chin, drawing the mare's face against her own. You're not just an apple. You're my apple. My sparkling apple. Face palm, 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 face palm. Twilight's entire face was engulfed in a scarlet hue as her blush exploded alongside her heart. of hearts. Consumed in the fires of a passionate emotion, the love-struck mare could only purr and brush her side and flanks against her newfound mate as the two trotted together and out the door, their conjoined ribbon forming a breezy heart above the two destined lovers. That's kind of sweet. Rainbow Dash lightly touched down on the floor and sat on her haunches, her mind racing at the implications of the recent turn of events. Holds shaking, teeth chattering, she lifted the goggles off her head with a little difficulty and placed them on her lap. The rose glass shone in the light of Rainbow Dash's eyes grew dull with shock. She rubbed her eyes, lifting the fog of confusion from her mind. "Whoa," she muttered as she stood up on all fours. Did that just happen?" The goggle strap hung on her hoof, allowing her to lift it to her eyes. Her magenta eyes slowly regained their shimmer as a smirk inched its way onto the corners of her lips. I don't like this already. Whatever it was awesome! Snickering to herself, Rainbow Dash turned to the door. She placed a hoof on her chin, mocking, Give me one moment. I need a drink. This is going to be a long story, folks. She placed a hoof on her chin, mocking, contemplative thought. "I wonder what Rarity's doing," she snorted. "Well, I know what she will be..." Fuck me. "I know what she will be doing. Revenge is a dish best served cold. Served with pie." Rainbow Dash snickered. "Oh no, please don't." Rainbow Dash snickered, reminiscing about the last run-in with her old friend Gilda. "What are you gonna do, Rainbow Dash? Please don't do something I'm going to regret reading." Rainbow Dash had plans for Rarity, and she needed Pinkie Pie's help to get revenge for the incident. With a goal in mind and a daring smirk on her face, Rainbow Dash soared through the air in search of Ponyville's #1 serial prankster. Early afternoon meant lunch, and lunch meant a busy marketplace. The town streets were bustling, which meant ponies. Lots of ponies. Lots of ponies meant... That's a lot of ribbons. Rainbow Dash muttered to herself, slightly slack-jawed as she surveyed the area below. Every mare, every stallion, and even the occasional teenager had the strange ethereal ribbon protruding from their chest. Weird. A few other Pegasi passed by her, along with a few clouds bickering about mistaking a dress in a garden. Rainbow Dash hovered nearby to observe the ribbons. The stallions seemed to be darting around each other for dawn as a single mare floated freely. Neither of the three Pegasi noticed, lacking the magic sight channeling through Rainbow Dash. Wait a minute. Rainbow Dash thought as she trailed behind the delivery ponies. While she wasn't into measurements and logic like Twilight, she couldn't help but notice a pattern. Whenever the brown stallion, whose name she couldn't remember, yelled at the other, "Is that Thunderlight?" his ribbon would jab at the others. The mare blossomed forth from what Dash remembered, dragged the cloud with a blissful grin on her face. None of the ribbons seemed to notice her. Rainbow Dash rolled her eyes at the senseless bickering and continued onward to Sugar Cube Corner, her stomach growled in approval. Food, Pinkie Pie, and then the best prank ever. Rainbow Dash! Thoughts of cupcakes filled the ravenous Rainbow Dash's mind, causing her to salivate while drifting in the sky. Pinkie Pie made the best cupcakes ever. What are in those cupcakes anyway? She mused to herself as she flapped her powerful wings romantically. Maybe I ought to ask her. Rainbow Dash! Rainbow Dash's wings jerked, instinctively pulling to a complete stop as the shout tore through her thoughts. She looked down at a waving pony at the flower stall. Apparently Roseluck was in business for the lunch rush. Not wanting to be rude, Rainbow Dash flew down and landed in front of the mare. Strangely enough, Roseluck lacked a ribbon. Hi. Not seeing any reason to have them on. Rainbow Dash flipped her goggles off. What's up? I just wanted to ask if you could tell the lovely couple congratulations for me. Roseluck smiled and reached for a banquet of flowers before handing them to Rainbow Dash. And give them myrtles. How can I forget that? I took a horticulture class. And give them these myrtles. They've earned it. Rainbow Dash took the flowers as a prize. Twilight and Applejack? They came here? I thought they were at the barn or something. I'm sure they are, Roseluck stifled a grin and hid a knowing smirk. I know too, honey. They came and picked up honeysuckles and lavender, but I wanted to give them these on the house. It's honeysuckle and lavender. What would... I don't know. It's a life-changing experience, after all. Yeah, that's cool. Remember that shuffled her hose anxiously, wanted to fly and find Pinkie Pie already. The sky, not the garden, was Dash's thing. She flicked her tail in impatience, waiting for the flowers. Meredith let her go. Rosebud snatched her head and rubbed her hoof against her ear. Speaking of lavender, I have some velvets for you if you're hungry. They're your favorite, right? A stomach scar. Oh, wait! So, my thoughts. No, I'll wait until the end of the story. My thoughts might actually show up on page. They're your favorite, right? A stomach growl was all the answer she needed. Now in the same room, Rainbow Dash exchanged a couple of spare bits for the few violets. Saying her goodbyes, she turned away to leave the stall, munching on her violet treats. She turned back once to scan the market one last time, briefly flipping her goggles on, and observed a new stallion approaching Rollock's flower stall. Curiously enough, her ribbon was now showing. Weird. Oh, well, never mind. Well, that interacts a new theory. With nothing to do but search and eat, she resumed her snacking as she left the market. Rainbow Dash loved violets, enough to drool over, enough to moan while she chewed. Enough to become so engrossed in her consumption that her mind went completely blank, save from the euphoric bliss of flora, ambrosia, and nectar. I don't believe horses have that type of... She hardly noticed a flash of yellow that bumped past... She bumped past through the market's entrance and the minstrel squeaked behind her. One banquet buffet later, the ravenous racer found herself in front of a sugar cube corner, nibbling on her last petal. Rainbow Dash pushed the door open with her free hoof and walked inside. Miss Cake, currently working the counter, waved and shouted a warm greeting. Rainbow Dash, hello! She smiled, holding up a hoof. Please wait just a moment. Reaching under the counter for a random object, she popped back up a minute later with a blown box she held out to Rainbow Dash. Here you go, on the house. I hope Applejack loves it. Taking the box, Rainbow Dash's ears perked up as she tucked it away. What's in it? Oh, you know, Miss Cake waved her off. A gift. Weren't you coming here for it anyway? Pinkie Pie had me prepare it just for you, saying you would probably forget like always. Then again, this is the first time any of her friends... Yeah, Rainbow Dash interrupted, turning her head to and fro as she became antsy. Where's Pinkie Pie anyway? I came here for it, not for some box, no offense. No worries, dear. As for Pinkie Pie, I believe she's waiting for you. Alright, where is she? Upstairs? Miss Cake opened her mouth to reply, but immediately closed it. Instead of speaking, she briefly ducked underneath the counter. Before Rainbow Dash could stand up and peer over the counter, she popped back up with a confused expression. Miss Cake turned her head to the left and looked over her shoulder, then turned around and walked to the kitchen and poked her head inside. Returning to the front counter, she took her gaze up to the ceiling, murmuring to herself, Strange, she always pops up at the right times. Rainbow Dash shrugged. That's Pinkie for you. So, I guess we should head upstairs. By all means, Miss Cake agreed with a slight nod. Have a good time, dear, and do tell Pinkie Pie to take a break. The poor girl might overwork herself in her frenzy. Frenzy? Rainbow Dash thought as she climbed up the stairs, feeling a pair of eyes following her. She would have flown, but that might have been seen as rude. Not to mention she was on her guard for booby traps. Pinkie Pie was the only pony in Ponyville who was more prepared than she was, especially when it came to pranks. Then again, Rainbow Dash didn't feel the need to be prepared for anything, because she, in her own words, was that awesome. Pinkie Pie's bedroom was the same as she last remembered, despite the materials laying about and distinct lack of the party pony. A thought that Rainbow Dash pondered. Balloon, bed sheets, actual balloons, cupcake dresser, an actual cupcake, many pink colors, but no Pinkie. An odd observation, Rainbow Dash assumed. The record player in the corner was derelict, strange considering the paper frills and frosting littered the ground. She moved inside, her hoof stepping on something squishy and well. Lifting it revealed pink frosting. Rainbow Dash briefly licked it before wiping it off, then finished walking completely inside the room. Pinkie Pie was well known for the partying lifestyle. Even so, her bedroom was the implicate for the cleanliness and order. She always made sure to clean up no matter the party mess she made. The strange, chaotic clutter was alien to Rainbow Dash when no mayor was supervising. Rainbow Dash shuffled through the piles and piles of junk, glitter, and paper galore. White envelopes embroidered with small gems, sparkles, and scribbles covered the ground. One in particular caught her eye. Dear Shining Armor. Well, isn't that something? Rainbow Dash said with a sly grin. What are you writing for, Pinky? She tipped the letter over, revealing that the letter was addressed in Cadence as well. That certainly narrows it down, she thought with a grimace. Thoughts and images of blackmail dissipated. Really? Pinkie Pie? Shifting through the other envelope, she saw more and more names of various pony from Ponyville as well as other settlements including Canterlot. What? Rainbow Dash continued to pry, muttering. Brayburn, Velvet, Baths, Flat... No, wait, that one's ripped out. Huh? She tossed the letters back as she leaned a foreleg against the soft bed. Why is Pinky inviting so many ponies? Maybe must be some big party she's planning. Shrugging, Rainbow Dash turned away and started trotting to the door. Well, guess she's not here. Might as well catch lunch nap. Her hero instincts kicked in. Rainbow Dash's ears, wings, and tail shot straight into her. Narrowing her eyes, she turned on the spot, crouching in a fighting stance. Again, nothing. Gradually relaxing her tense muscles, she scratched the top of her head. Oh, that's weird. I could have sworn I heard... And on the reincarnation of the muffled cry of help, Rainbow Dash's eyes pinpointed to the one place she hadn't looked. Usually the first place a Pegasus would look. Up. Craning her neck to peer upward, non-sensual sight met her eyes. Pinkie Pie, her legs completely pressed against her body, and a self-made cocoon was attached to the ceiling by her tail. Her mouth uncovered, yet only murmurs of help seemed to escape. Rainbow Dash didn't wait another beat. Her wings flared out in an instant as she vaulted into the air, the source of her friend. She hovered next to Pinkie Pie and wrapped her forelegs around Pinkie's barrel. Then grunted as she pulled and flapped her wings as hard as she could. The edge of her vision tinted red as she exerted more energy. Fire burning in her wing joints, Pinkie Pie tears building in her ears, squeaked as pressure built on her tail. Taking in deep breaths, Rainbow... You gotta rip her tail off, Jesus Christ! Rainbow Dash prepared for one final tug. She pushed her wings and pulled with her four-rigged legs. The sweat of the two mares began to lubricate their fur, causing Rainbow Dash's limb to slide. She held on tighter, grunting as the vein in her forehead pulsed only to slip as her lungs burned out. Rainbow Dash catapulted to the floor and crashed. Her vision swam and her temples pounded with pain. Rainbow Dash sat up from the stack of letters that had cushioned her fall and rubbed her head. Her goggles and the impact had slid off her forehead into her eyes. She blinked and gradually leaned back at the scarlet lens that left sparks. Well, Rainbow Dash thought with a bite of her lip. That's Pinky for you. Somehow, in a way that only she could possibly pull off, Pinkie Pie was strapped to the ceiling by her own velvety thread. The ribbon protruding from her chest wrapped around her body, binding her legs. The end of it was intertwined with her tail. English, DeMarco! With her tail and tightly wrapped around the light fixture above. To add a cherry on top of the pie, the ribbon was conveniently wrapped around her muzzle, providing an invisible gag. Why? Finished staring, Rainbow Dash rolled off the stack of paper onto her forelegs. Her aching wings stretched out to recover the peruse the ground for a sharp object. Her muzzle poked and prodded through the piles of... That seems kind of dangerous. The piles of decorative junk and junk food until something bumped against her nose. Well, that's convenient. Rainbow Dash took the pair of scissors delicately inside her mouth, and that doesn't seem safe either. As she hopped into the air to I'm kind of curious now about why... Anyway, her rescue. Hovering next to the suspended Pinky, Rainbow Dash took the scissors in her hoof and mouth and placed them as high up the pink bushy tail she could. Unfortunately, he even lined up with the ribbon as much as possible. Some tail was going to be cut in the cross-snip. Oh well. Rainbow Dash mentally shrugged and closed the scissors. Snip! Quick as a hawk! Rainbow Dash tucked into a dive and caught Pinkie Pie before she became Gravity's mistress. Rainbow Dash flew down and lightly set Pinkie down where she landed. Pinkie Pie let out a muffled squeak as she began wiggling to free herself. Only calming down once more, Rainbow Dash rested a hoof on her belly and gave a brief rub of comfort. Leaning down and taking the scissor and a hoof, she began to work on releasing the still-bound damsel. The red ribbon, taut and unable to attack her, like her previous encounter with Twilight and Applejack, was a struggle to clip at her chosen point. Rainbow Dash's eyes narrowed as she examined the ribbon for the first time up close. The ribbon was thin near the base of Pinkie's tail, but gradually thicker the closer it came to her chest, where it was thick as her foreleg. Taking the easier rail, Rainbow Dash clipped the thinner sections wrapped around Pinkie. One near Pinkie Pie's hind leg, snip, and two at her forelegs. Snip, snip. Front legs, forelegs. Rainbow shifted her hooves to lean down near Pinkie's muzzle to cut the last restricting ribbon. But the party mare began to shift in place. The ribbon uncoiled and slid off her body, leaving a smiling Pinkie a breath away from Rainbow. "Hi!" Pinkie Pie said, batting her eyelashes, nearly out of breath. Rainbow Dash's ears grew hot, but she kept her cool and backed off. "Yeah, hi." Landing a hoof to her recovering friend, Rainbow Dash stepped back and held Pinkie up. The ribbon protruding from Pinkie Pie's chest twitched but made no movement towards Rainbow. Pinkie Pie stood up and held a hoof to her chest, panting with her tongue hanging out. While it would take a normal pony a few minutes to catch her breath, it took Pinkie approximately 5 seconds. The volume of her mane returned and her blue eyes regained their gloss. Pinkie gasped, taking in an exaggerated breath, and began. "Oh my god, Rainbow Dash, I got invited to set up the best party ever for Twilight and Applejack. I didn't want to be at the best party. I was finishing the last day, but got tired because I finished a really big cake and frosted it with Mr. Cake. Oh, it got sick and he went to bed and I had to finish all on my own, and I got tired and fell asleep in my own room, and I woke in the ceiling when you saved me. Oh, Applejack and Twilight, get it!" Rainbow Dash waited for her ears to stop ringing before she retracted her hoof from Pinkie's motor mouth, setting it down and whipping it up. Hold up, gotta catch my breath after that. Oh, I don't see how people can do that. They've got to have good lungs. Rainbow Dash waited for her ears to stop ringing before she retracted her hoof from Pinkie Pie's motor mouth, setting it down and wiping it on the carpet. A grin grew under her devilish eyes. "Hey, Pinkie, want to take a break and help me with the best prank ever?" And that's the end of it. That's the end of the first chapter. I wonder if I can read that better. "Oh my gosh, I got to set up the best party for Twilight and Applejack, and you want to be in the best party, Mary, and I was finishing the last one. We got tired because I finished a really big cake and frosted it with a Mr. Cake. Got to 60 and you wanted to bed, and I had to finish all on my own, so I kind of got tired and fell asleep in my room. Look at my cinema when you say, oh, it's Applejack and Twilight." I'm pretty sure if I attempted to talk like that in Pinkie's speed, I'm pretty sure I would choke in my own tongue. No, I take that back. I assure myself I would choke on my own tongue. Anyway, I hope you guys liked this story. If you did, go support whatchamacallit on Film Fiction. Flint Sparks on Film Fiction. He's put quite a bit of work into this. He's also got 51 more stories out there. So, you know, he has 699 followers compared to my 30 followers. But, yeah, if you like that story, then yeah, you should probably go check out more of his stories. Because, you know, he has stories like, Princess Twilight Sparkle Flips a Table, and then some, or, Oh, But I Am Weak and Helpless. And, he's picked out a couple of stories that I just like. Anyway, hope you guys liked it. Share it with your friends, leave a comment, like it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Hopefully, join the Wolf Army!